William and Valerie had been introduced just a year ago by a mutual friend who figured they'd hit it off, and, as it turned out, they really did. It didn't take long before William was completely smitten and started doing everything he could to win her over. Coming from a well-off family and holding down a solid job, he had no trouble spoiling her lavish dinners, thoughtful gifts, the whole 9 yards. With all that attention and charm, Valerie found herself falling for him pretty fast. A few short months later, William asked her to move into his place. He'd already bought himself a nice apartment, and they'd even taken a couple of trips together. Valerie wasn't just sitting around either. She had her own small business and kept herself plenty busy. She had William's best friend since childhood, Stan, who was not only her close friend, but also her business partner. After a year of working together, they created a loyal customer base that grew steadily. Their joint venture meant that they spent a lot of time working side by side, strengthening the bond they already had. Somewhere along the way, William realized he wanted to take things to the next level with Valerie, so he popped the question. The proposal caught her completely off guard. She hadn't seen it coming so soon. For a moment, she hesitated, unsure of what to say. But honestly, there was no real reason to say no. Their relationship was solid, the love was mutual, and everything seemed to be on the right track. So she said yes. Still, despite saying yes, Valerie couldn't quite shake an uneasy feeling that had crept in out of nowhere. And then, just like that, everything changed. Literally the next day, she went to a country event with Stan. When he noticed the ring on her finger, she waved it away with an awkward laugh and said, "Oh yes, William proposed to me. We'll get married in a few months." She tried to keep a straight face, but her mood instantly changed. Stan didn't congratulate her, quite the opposite. He looked worried, almost annoyed, and expressed concerns that planning the wedding might distract her from their business. He even went so far as to question whether a wedding was necessary at all. This reaction stunned her. Before that, Stan had always seemed happy with her relationship. It was the first time he had shown anything close to disapproval, let alone such tension. There wasn't a good moment to clear the air. Too much was going on with the event and work-related distractions. That evening, they barely spoke a word to each other. Valerie ended up leaving earlier than Stan and didn't feel like reaching out afterward. For the next couple of days, she had a bit of breathing room, and during that lull, her future mother-in-law asked if she'd join her for a trip to the home goods store. She wanted to check out some gift ideas for the couple, mostly kitchenware, and was worried she might pick something Valerie wouldn't like. Instead of guessing, she figured it'd be nice just to spend some time together. As they wandered through the aisles, her mother-in-law occasionally held up a plate or utensil and asked, "What do you think of this one?" Valerie answered when she could, but inside, her mind was spinning. She was still reeling from the strange exchange with Stan, the weird tension that hadn't been there before. And one question kept bouncing around in her head: is this normal? At some point, the tension bubbling beneath the surface became too much for William's mother to ignore. With the wedding date creeping closer and excitement building all around, she couldn't help but notice something off. Valerie, the soon-to-be bride, seemed distracted, always bringing up another man in casual conversation, Stan, to be exact. It didn't sit right with her. Eventually, the mother-in-law let it slip, making a pointed remark that left Valerie speechless and, for once, quiet. But the unease didn't go away. Later that day, she pulled her son aside and shared her concerns. Something just didn't feel right. She said she couldn't shake the idea that this business partner of Valerie's might be more than just that. William, however, brushed it off without a second thought. He chalked it up to Valerie being overly sensitive and taking a minor disagreement way too seriously. To him, it seemed like nothing more than a silly spat. He didn't know it yet, but ignoring his mother's intuition would come back to haunt him. With the wedding drawing nearer and every day packed with last-minute preparations, there was a low hum of anxiety hanging over everyone involved. Beneath the surface excitement, an undercurrent of tension ran deep. In the middle of it all, Valerie found herself still haunted by Stan's reaction and the way it made her feel. The questions swirling in her mind wouldn't leave her alone. So, finally, she decided to face it head-on. She showed up at Stan's place without warning. He greeted her warmly, offering tea or, with a sly grin, something a little stronger. Valerie, clearly uneasy, politely asked for tea and jumped straight into the conversation, bringing up the day she told him about the engagement. As she pressed him for an explanation, emotions started boiling over. And then he said it. He'd been in love with her for a long time. The words hung heavy between them. Before she could even respond, he kissed her. The moment hit Valerie like a wave, completely unexpected, overwhelming. Heart pounding, she pulled away and left in a hurry, barely saying goodbye. Sitting in the back of a taxi, she stared out the window, thoughts racing, trying to make sense of the mess she found herself in. There was no time to untangle her feelings. The wedding was right around the corner. One thing she knew for sure: Stan wouldn't be getting an invitation. She did everything she could to avoid running into him after that. They'd known each other forever. So many memories, so much shared history. But now, sitting in a salon chair while her friends chatted and got their hair done, Valerie couldn't pretend everything was fine. She finally admitted out loud what had been gnawing at her. She wasn't sure she should be marrying William, at least. Not like this, not so fast. Her friends waved it off with a laugh. It's just cold feet, they said. Everyone freaks out a little before the big day. Valerie forced a smile, but inside, the doubt was deafening. The ceremony was set in the countryside, a picturesque escape from the city, surrounded by trees and sky. As they arrived at the venue, Valerie's eyes scanned the crowd. And then she saw him. Stan. He wasn't dressed up, didn't look like he belonged there at all. His shirt was rumpled, hair a mess. But when their eyes met, it was like everything else faded. No words, just a look that said it all. Without thinking, Valerie turned and ran, right into his arms. Just like that, she left everything behind: her guests, the vows, the perfectly planned day, and vanished with Stan. The crowd stared in stunned silence. It didn't take long before William caught wind that something was terribly wrong. He stormed over to the group, demanding answers. One of Valerie's friends, clearly uncomfortable, finally caved and told him the truth. His face twisted with anger. Without wasting a second, he took off, desperate to find her. It took half an hour, but eventually he did. She was hiding behind a weather-worn beach house, her arms wrapped tightly around Stan like he was the only thing keeping her upright. But it didn't take long before they were found. William's mother, already suspicious, arrived moments later, and the look on her face said it all. She didn't need an explanation. Her fury exploded like a storm, confirming what everyone feared. Then came William, heart pounding, breath ragged, eyes wide with disbelief. The betrayal hit him hard, and without thinking, he lunged. Words were hurled, fists nearly followed. Everything fell apart in a flash of raised voices and shattered trust. The wedding was over before it even began. Valerie and Stan ran. No goodbyes, no explanations, just the sound of crashing waves and whispers behind them. Later that night, William went home and packed up every trace of her clothes, her perfume, the little things she'd left scattered around the apartment like breadcrumbs of a life they were supposed to build together. One by one, he cleared it all out. Meanwhile, Valerie, convinced she'd made the right choice, tried to move in with Stan immediately. She'd walked away from everything, surely he'd meet her halfway. But he didn't. He stalled, made excuses. Their once easy connection started to splinter. Days went by without seeing each other. When they did meet, it almost always ended in a fight. Valerie, exhausted and heartbroken, lashed out, accusing him of not appreciating the price she'd paid, the life, the future, the man she'd left behind. And then came the silence. The breakup hit her like a blow she had never expected. No fairy tale ending, no new beginning, only emptiness. Regret enveloped her like a shadow. She hadn't just lost Stan, she'd lost the foundation that had shaped her life. Safety, warmth, partnership. Even the business she had once run now seemed alien to her, as if it belonged to someone else. Desperate, she tried to contact William. She sent messages, left voicemails, hoping for the slightest opportunity to apologize, explain, but William still didn't answer. He closed the door and locked it. Looking back, she could see it so clearly. All the signs, the crossroads where she could have chosen honesty instead of silence. But she hadn't. She'd let uncertainty rot everything from the inside. Trapped between a steady, quiet love and a wildfire that burned too fast, she'd made her choice. And now, she stood alone in the ashes, knowing she'd gambled everything and lost it all for a love that flared bright and died even quicker.